All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our live stream, the Double A Team Podcast Live Stream Edition. I'm your host, Stephen Nagishi, and we thank you for joining us this late. If you're on the East Coast, it's well past 10 o'clock. Thanks for joining us. With me, as always, on the screen on top next to me is my good friend Rishab Sikiri from the YouTube channel DaWindyCity Production, the Bears YouTuber. The bottom of me is Phil Vander Hayden. He's been our regular guest who has done a live stream the last couple of months toward the end of last year as well. And then joining us for the very first time through Rishab's recommendation, it is Celeste.
Hi.
Nice to meet you all, guys. Thanks for joining me on this Wednesday night, wherever you might be. Let's start with you, Rishab. What have you been up to since our last tweet, or actually last live stream that we did it together? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've just been busy with work, watching the NFL playoffs, and just traveling around Chicago. It was my birthday, February 3rd, so we had.
Congratulations! That was your birthday last week.
So old now, man.
Happy birthday. Happy late birthday.
Yeah, thank you guys. But it was a fun time just going around Chicago. The weather was pretty nice that week. So, just been up to that basically.
All right. Phil, what have you been up to?
I've just been, just working my ass off, watching the terrible Chicago Bulls, who are they're down by 13 right now. It's better than the 40 or 50 that was going on yesterday. So otherwise, just work and trying to stay warm.
I gotcha. Celeste, you're a first timer. Tell us about yourself. Where do you live, and what do you do? What's your relation to any of us in the the live stream, if there is any?
Okay, so I live outside or in another state, and I did grow up in Chicago, the southwest side of Chicago.
Okay.
So I know the city pretty well. I don't know. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. So
That's all right.
But
Good.
yeah.
Well, welcome. First time.
Thank you.
We thank you for joining us. So let's try and get this show off and running right now. All right. Well, thank you very much for guys joining me. King Kumar, OG Squad member, Celeste, and Rishab. Thanks for joining us. And King Kumar, thanks for joining us on this Wednesday night, wherever you are right now. All right. So it's been a while. So let's try and catch up on some of the Bears and the NFL news. We'll start off with the Bears. That's our main theme here. The big news, of course, over the weekend. The Bears owner, Virginia McCaskey, passes away at the age of 102. Rishab, let me start with you as a Bears YouTuber. As somebody who have followed the Bears, what is your feeling, and then the news of her passing and the legacy that she left?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. Because I didn't expect it at all. I mean, I know she was getting older, but it kind of came out of nowhere, I feel like. And yeah, it's just like you kind of felt like she was gonna live forever because she was, 102 or whatever, it was, and like she, had been around for a long time, and obviously she's had like a lot of great history with the Bears, or she's connected to great history at least. And yeah, I know she was like a pioneer for like a lot of women in sports too. So, like that was pretty cool. And obviously, Bears fans weren't the biggest fan of her from an owner point of view.
Right.
Bears didn't really do that well in her ownership, but I think obviously condolences to their family. And obviously it's a sad day for the NFL and like their fans across the NFL. And I'm sure they're probably gonna honor her next season. The Bears will, with like a patch on their jersey or something like that. So yeah, it's pretty sad. But as to what the Bears are gonna do next, I wonder if this means they're going to sell the team now, because there's rumors that, George sold the team when his mother passed away. So there's not really been any news since then. But I kind of wonder, like, if this makes it more likely the Bears are going to sell the team, because George is only a fan, as he said. Like, he doesn't really have, I feel like, a crazy amount of interest in owning a team.
Sure.
So, we'll see if they get sold or like what happens next. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on it.
Phil, what were your reactions when you heard the news of her passing?
I was shocked. I honestly thought that she was going to live forever. I was pretty sure I was going to die before her. So it's pretty crazy that happened. Honestly, I don't mean to make light of it, but like honestly, let's just be honest. She was alive for 102 years. I don't think we have to act too sad. I mean, she lived a full life. If I live to 102 and I die, I hope people celebrate it. But it's a crazy change. I'm going to be very interested to see how the Chicago Bears organization changes from here. And yeah, I mean, honestly, she never built too much of a relationship with the public, so it was hard to feel much outside of like what it might do to my team.
Right. She was, obviously somebody that attended, games here and there. We've seen her in the, sky box or suite, whatever you want to call it. And then was just basically sitting there, quietly watching the game itself. So let me ask you about the news of her passing, and then what do you think about the Bears' future without her, and then the ownership going forward?
So first of all, my condolences to her family. But like Phil said, that she did live to 102 years old. Like that's amazing. Not a lot of people live that old. So she's seen like a lot of like great things that the Chicago Bears have made. The good thing is she did make it to see the Bears beat the Packers one last time. So that's good. I do think the Bears are going to sell the team. Or sorry, I feel like the family is going to sell the Bears. So yeah.
Excuse me, Rishab. Do you feel like that the Bears are kind of eventually gonna be sold because of the inheritance tax that the Bears are going to have to pay with the passing, and then whatever that is going to be passed down, or whatever the percentage that the team that is kind of being owned up by George and his children. I'm not familiar, and I don't think a lot of people are familiar with this, complications. But you work in accounting, finance firm. Can you kind of give us a glimpse of what could be in store for the Bears if they choose to sell off the the team, especially the young kids, that's probably not as interested in the ownership?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have to do more research into it, honestly, because I work more in corporate taxes rather than like private sector, like individuals. But I know about the inheritance tax and like all that. So like, yeah, it would be a very expensive. Like they'd be paying the U.S. government and Illinois government like a lot of money, like if they sold the team. But I think obviously like the sum is going to be so large, like it's going to be 8 billion, 9 billion, maybe even 10 billion plus dollars. So at that point, they're probably not even too worried about the tax. Like you still have so much money to pass on for generations. I think it's more like they're probably not going to feel the need to own the team anymore, because it feels like they only held on to it because of Virginia. Like Virginia were to keep the team, but I really feel like in the next 2 years or next 3 years, maybe, like they're gonna sell it to the highest bidder, and whether that be like I'm not even sure who has enough money to buy the Bears, but like out of all the billionaires, one of them maybe could want the Bears, or if it's a group of investors, that could make sense too. I know who floated it out there. I saw I think Brett Coleman. This is not going to happen, but Brett Coleman floated out the idea of Colin Cowherd owning a portion of the Bears, which like
because he moved to Chicago recently, right?
Yeah, he moved to Chicago. He's really rich, obviously, because he has a media company too. So, yeah, I just want there's going to be a lot of crazy names thrown out there to purchase the Bears, but I do think it's going to happen within the next 2, 3, maybe 5 years. Like it might take a while, but I do think they're going to sell the Bears eventually.
Phil, do you have any particular people that you want the Bears to buy? If there is anybody who is rich enough to own the Bears in particular, or you're just basically like you don't care as long as the the Bears remain in Chicago, of course, and then that the stadium is done, and whoever the owner is, those things have to be get done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, if I had to choose, I'm gonna go ahead and pick Elon because he owns X, and that's where we can run that. We could be Bears advisors. If Elon buys the Bears. So I'm just kidding, but honestly, just someone with deep pockets, someone that's got deep pockets and they're willing to spend the win. My dream would be Mark Cuban, but there's probably no shot. But man, Mark Cuban would be great. Can you imagine that man on the field? Hype.
I can see that because obviously, right now, Cuban has already sold the Mavericks to Miriam Adelson, who is the heir to Wynn Casinos in Vegas, who owns the Mavericks. He does have the position of the basketball operations, but we saw the blockbuster trade of Luka Doncic to the Lakers recently. He really doesn't have a lot of control, unfortunately, even though he technically is still, has the portions of the control over the team. But it's very interesting. Maybe now that he no longer owns the Mavericks and he can still watch the game from his expensive seats. You've been seeing people protesting outside the AAC, and then the fans protesting inside in the arena where the Mavericks are playing. And perhaps maybe he went to University of Indiana in Bloomington. Maybe Cuban has the feel that he wants to get back into owning the team. He wants to be involved. Not that he's going to be the one, making draft calls or anything like that. But I would definitely, maybe this Luka Doncic experience has kind of made him sour to a point where he wants to leave the NBA and then maybe get back into an ownership where he is the the main owner or 100% owner, or maybe he owns majority of the control along with several investors, because $8, $9, $10 billion that you were mentioning, Rishab, that's a lot of money that only like a handful of individual can come up with on their own. So yeah, I'll be curious to see if Jeff Bezos' name have been thrown, of course, out there. Ken Griffin, that's a Chicago billionaire who has, strong connections and strong knowledge of the Chicago business and market as well. And Mark Cuban, if he decides, again, I want out of Dallas with all the fan backlash that the Mavericks is getting. Maybe he said enough is enough. I want to, get back into owning a team, and maybe he decides to, by the Chicago Bears. So it's going to be an interesting, few years from right now, because outside of McCaskey's, I do believe Pat Ryan also owns the majority share of the Bears by himself as well. So you're going to have to probably buy him out as well. And maybe Ryan decides that he wants to take over the Bears with the several groups of investors himself. So, there could be some proxy fight over the control of the Bears. That could be, that could be very, very ugly, like the HBO show, Succession type of level we may have seen in the past. So, it's going to be very, very interesting with the direction where the McCaskey family is heading now. But, obviously, now's not the time to think about the future. Of course, they just had a nice ceremony today outside of, where was this funeral that took place? I'm going to try and pull up a picture. Yeah, here we go.
They invited the legend. He'd know.
Exactly. So this is where it was held today. St. Emily Catholic Church and School. So the notable attendees, Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, Giants owner John Mara, of course, that's along with the Hallis and the McCaskies. John Mara, of course, is a big time family owner with the Giants. Kim Pegula, the Buffalo Bills, the wife of the Buffalo Bills owner, Kevin Warren, Ryan Poles, Ben Johnson, Richard Hightower, Brian Urlacher, Richard Dan Hampton, Matt Forte, Lovie Smith, Leslie Frazier, Robbie Gold, and plenty more. So it's an amazing tribute right there. So, it's I think it goes to show that she was well respected. And I know as an owner, and I'll be the first one to openly admit this, I've held a lot of grudge against the family because of the mediocrity that all of us have had to deal with. And I know I'm not going to say this because I wrote this. A lot of people were thinking, will the Bears get any better, or unless she dies, will the Bears have a chance of getting any better? And I write that, I saw that here and there, unfortunately, but that was the reality of the world we were living in, unfortunately. So, rest in peace. And then, hopefully, the Bears will have a succession plan one way or the other. And, we'll see how that impacts the Bears moving forward in terms of spending and their efforts to land a stadium moving forward. All right. Since we haven't talked about this, Rishab, I think it was, we last time we did the show, the Bears were still in the process of looking for a new head coach. And, Ben Johnson got hired, and you were doing a live stream with a friend of yours. That was, what was it, the day that Ben Johnson was officially hired, right?
Yeah, we didn't know he was going to be hired that day, but that was the day all the plane thing went down, the plane tracking. There's a bunch of people on Bears Twitter tracking a plane that apparently went to Dallas first to interview Mike McCarthy, and then went to Chicago, then to Detroit, and then back to Chicago. And we really thought that was his plane because everything.
Yeah.
And Nick from Just Another Year Chicago, he drove to the airport, and because he lives 10 minutes away from Chicago Executive Airport. And he drove there, and he tracked the plane down, and with some other Bears fans. And then, it was a crazy live stream. We had 40,000 people watching that. And it ended up not even being his plane because he wasn't actually on that plane. But the second that plane landed, we got the news that Ben Johnson got hired by the Bears. So we thought it was for sure his plane. Maybe it was somebody else, from his team, to sign something or whatever it was. But yeah, so I mean, my reaction to that was, at least we got to have my live reaction to Ben Johnson. That was the one good thing that came out of that stream, because you guys can, if you watch that video, it was just crazy. We were just in pure, elation and
yeah, we're gonna play it, guys. Here we go.
I'm about to say, you guys see it. Okay. All right.
Rishab and Nick, as soon as the news.
Can somebody link the tweet you guys are talking about? Oh yeah. Oh shit! We got him! It's him! We got Ben Johnson!
Dude, pure fucking killer. I love it.
Wait, what do you mean we got him?
We got him! Adam Schefter right now! We got Ben Johnson! We got him! Oh shit!
Yeah! Oh my God! He's out! He's out! Ben Johnson! Oh my God! We're so bad!
That was everyone's reaction.
Oh.
Sorry, there was a bit of a buffer.
my face.
Yeah, there's still
We signed him! We signed him! Let's go! Holy shit! Let's go! Oh my God! All right, well, we're here. All right, I gotta fly home and make a video about this. Holy shit!
You guys actually saw him on the plane.
All right, he's here. Daddy's home. All right, we'll see you guys later. Holy shit!
King Poles did it again. We are so back. Oh my God! I can't believe they already did it so fast. I thought it'd take a couple days.
Mike McCarthy, who? The fuck are you talking about?
This badass does not belong in Chicago. Go to New Orleans, get some good food down there. You're not coming back to Chicago. Holy fucking shit.
Dude, I kind of want to see if he like comes out.
All right. Well, listen. Thanks for sharing the elations with us there. So let me start with you. Where were you the day when you found out about Ben Johnson's hiring? And did you know about anything about Ben Johnson's background
I
when he was
do.
hired? Oh, good.
I
good.
do. I was actually on that stream as well when they were tracking down the plane. But I do like the work he did with the Lions, and since day one I was like, oh, I hope we get him. I hope we get him. I know there was a lot of rumors going on, but sometimes you don't know about rumors. Sometimes especially with the Bears, they always make not the best decisions and things, but I was just shook that they made a right decision. So I'm super excited about this upcoming season.
Yep. Phil, your reaction to the hiring of Ben Johnson?
I couldn't fucking believe it. I mean, honestly, it was a mixture of like, well, duh, and then also like, holy shit. Just because like Celeste said, the Bears don't do this ever. They never get the top coach on the market. They never have the balls to pay him the money or pay a coach like that the money that they want. And even if they did, like the McCaskies would shut it down anyway. So that was why I felt like it was shocking, but I felt like it was inevitable because if you look at our competition, if he was dead set on becoming a head coach this year, I mean, where was he going to go? I guess Jacksonville was like somewhat viable, but like they paid Trevor Lawrence, and I mean, I guess I'm biased, but I think we're better. So, I mean, fuck, be a Super Bowl champion in Chicago or Jacksonville. It's an easy choice.
Oh yeah.
So I thought from that perspective, it was a no-brainer. It was just a great feeling though, for once, to feel like we got our guy. Everyone else wanted him and we got him. I mean, Chicago doesn't have that happen in almost any sport for free agents or coaches. It's always tough. So, very exciting, very fucking exciting.
Mm-hmm. And we look at the coaching staff now. They have pretty much hired everybody. They really took time to hire the best ones out there. The defensive coordinator, of course, is Dennis Allen. He has a head coaching experience with the Las Vegas. Well, I believe it was still, maybe was it Vegas Raiders still or Oakland? I can't really remember when the hell they even moved. But I'm going to guess it was still with Oakland back then. And then also, of course, the New Orleans Saints. He was a DC under Sean Payton. And then when Payton retired or left the job, Allen became a head coach as well. He's a very good defensive coordinator. I guess probably one of those people, again, who's better at being a coordinator than being a head coach, kind of like Steve Spagnuolo with the Kansas City Chiefs or Vic Fangio. We'll talk about the Super Bowl in a little bit later. Declan Doyle. This is a very interesting hire. He's only 28 years old. He is an offensive coordinator, but what people need to understand is that he's not going to be the one calling plays. Okay, this is Ben Johnson's offense, and Ben Johnson, like in Detroit, he said he wants to call plays and he feels comfortable, so he'll be the one calling his own play. But Declan Doyle will be the guy that who will be doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff, charting, breaking down the tapes, a lot of late hours in the Hallis Hall, breaking down tapes, etc., etc. Richard Hightower is brought back as a special teams coordinator, which kind of was a surprise. Of course, many people will remember the back-to-back. Well, no, it wasn't the back-to-back, but the Packers game that the Bears lost on that block field goal, which was a known tendency that was not kind of fixed, and yet somehow they decided to bring him back. Of course, I think a lot had a lot to do with the fact that Darren Rizzi, who was a Saints interim coach late last year, was a special teams coordinator. Couldn't lure him. He ended up going to Sean Payton's Denver, so they probably kept him by default. Hopefully, there won't be a moment like we had to witness last year where a kick was blocked because of Cairo Santos's low trajectory and all that stuff. Looking at the other ones, these are a little bit of unknowns here. Not the coordinator type levels. Zach Gable, offensive quality control. Tight end coach Jim Drake. This is a holdover. Kevin Koch, defensive control coordinator. Noble Landry, Pierre Engo, Kenny Norton, Rob Picasso. There are some couple of other names that I think we probably have to remember. Press Taylor is the passing game coordinator who came over from Jacksonville, who was not a popular amongst the people down there because people were kind of freaking out that he and Doug Peterson ruined Trevor Lawrence, and now he's worried about Caleb Williams suffering the same fate. But that's not going to be the case. He's a passing game coordinator, which is what help me out, guys. The name of the interim coach the Bears elevated this year.
Thomas Brown.
Thomas Brown. Yeah, Thomas Brown was the that passing game coordinator. So that's the role. He's like the number 4 on the food chain when it comes to offensive play calling, or at least the offensive responsibility. And people freaked out about Thomas Brown or didn't know about Thomas Brown. So I don't expect the people to be all that worked up about Press Taylor. Let's see. The offensive line coach was not mentioned here. I think Dennis Rochar, I believe, is the name of the offensive line coach. Terrific background and experience. Was with the Saints. So Declan Doyle, Dennis Allen, all of these people have all strong connections together in New Orleans. Has a tremendous experience developing offensive line. The Saints offensive line is pretty damn good there too. So that's another all-star hiring there. I believe Bill Johnson was the defensive line coach that was hired with another another coach with a wealth of experience. Although I believe he's more of an assistant type of deal. The defensive line coach, I believe they hired a college coach. I forgot the name. Somebody from the SEC level there. So, it's very interesting. But, thank you, Lord Femto. Dan Rochard, the offensive offensive line coach there. When you look at this coaching staff that the Bears have put together, Rishab, what is your overall impression of the staff that Ben Johnson has put together?
I think it's a really good staff, top to bottom. Like, his DC choice was fantastic. It's probably one of the best defensive coordinator choices he could have made. Dennis Allen has already had a lot of experience building really good defenses. Like Nicholas said, like, he already runs a 4-3 defense, so we don't have to change up, the personnel or anything. And he's had experience, generating a lot of turnovers too. So, like, the turnover forcing ability of this defense, I feel like should still be there. And honestly, he's an upgrade over Eberflus as well. Like, I know Eberflus had good moments as the Bears, defensive play caller, but Allen, I think, is still a better defensive play caller than Eberflus, and he's only being our DC rather than our head coach. So I think he could really change the culture, or like continue the culture of the defense, and hopefully improve the run defense too, because the Bears had one of the worst run defenses in all of football last year. So really excited about the Dennis Allen acquisition. For the OC choice, like, I don't really know much about him, but he's a young guy that a lot of people are saying is one of the smartest and youngest minds in football. Maybe eventually he could be a head coach himself. And he's more of a guy that's going to watch film and just assist Ben Johnson in the play designing and the plays, scheming before a game. He's not going to be calling plays, like you mentioned. And keeping Richard Hightower, I'm okay with that. The block kicks sucked, but it's like that got corrected eventually in the season. Like, I know Cairo ended the last game with the game-winning field goal against the Packers. So, like, we did figure it out eventually. It's still a little bit worrisome that that but the Bears have one of the highest ranked special teams in football. If you look at the PFF grade or whatever, like coverage and like kicking, field position was pretty good on special teams. So, I like the coordinator choices for the most part. Offensive line coach Dan Rochar, I think that's a phenomenal choice. Like, he's probably the best choice you could have made there. He's had experience, working with a lot of different types of offensive linemen, and anything is better than the last offensive line coach we had. What was his name again? The last offensive
Chris
line
Morgan. I'll never fucking forget it.
Oh yeah. Chris Morgan.
Yeah, Chris Morgan did about as bad of a job as he possibly could do.
Having a bad night, Chris Morgan.
Yeah, so screw that guy. But yeah, I mean, overall, like I think it's a good staff. Like, obviously, we can't hype it up too much until we see results being shown. But this is like 10 times better than the staff Eberflus came up with for his first season with the Bears, and even the staff that Nagy came up with. I mean, we had a good staff the first year, obviously, with Vic Fangio, but like after that, it wasn't really a good staff. So I think it's a staff that could stay together in Chicago for a long time, especially because Dennis Allen, he's not going to be hired to be a head coach anywhere else if he does have success, because he's already been a head coach before and he failed, miserably at it 2 times. So like, he's kind of like our own version of Steve Spagnuolo with the Chiefs, where if he does good, he's not going to leave. So yeah, overall, I'm very happy with the Bears staff, I'd say.
I don't think not many people have any qualms about. There's no question about that. I think the amount of time that this organization, from hiring Ben Johnson to putting together this what I consider to be a very, very good coaching staff, that they took time to do this. Celeste, of course, hiring Ben Johnson was very impressive, but the amount of time that the Bears took to hire these coaching staff that Ben Johnson and the front office put together, you have to kind of feel a lot better now that, of course, Ben Johnson got hired. But the fact that the Bears have gone out of the way to, lure these well-respected coaches to, as a they're into their staff, which obviously they had to pay. But do you feel better about the Bears organization before Ben Johnson versus now that Ben Johnson has been hired?
Excuse me, sorry. I definitely feel a lot better now that he's hired. I do trust his way of the hires and everything and what he's going to work on with the team. I have no complaints over that. I do not know more about I think it was the OC. I'm not really too sure.
I don't think that many people are familiar with somebody who's a 28-year-old, literally a kid in the NFL world, pretty much. But go ahead.
But sometimes you need the young brain in a team, so so you never know. But other than that, I'm pretty happy about it.
Now, the most hot button topic conversation among the Bears fans is, of course, it's the presence of Kevin Warren, and people have been, up in arms about Warren's presence and his role. Of course, I think a lot of people thought that he was only brought in to do the stadium thing, and the stadium, of course, is still up in the air, and fans were kind of pissed off about it. But Phil, do you feel great about the the presence of Kevin Warren and how much the Bears have changed the way they do business around? Because I know Rick Smith, the Ben Johnson's agent, was praising the way that the Bears are doing the job, and that's not something that us Bears fans are used to hearing about.
No, and thanks for teaming me up for that, because I'm here to tell everybody, if you're not a fan of Kevin Warren, you need to be. Kevin Warren is the reason why we have Ben Johnson. I'm not saying that Ryan Poles didn't have anything to do with it. I'm sure he did. But Kevin Warren's the one who got in George McCaskey's ear. Kevin Warren's the one who was by all accounts, was wanting to hold people more accountable. And people were thinking the other way, that he was obstructing the process, or that he was, getting in the way. He didn't know what he was doing. I think at least we all owe him grace now, I think. I mean, if you don't want to be a big fan, that's fine. I get it. People are upset about the stadium. That's fine. But this guy got George McCaskey to shell out top 5 coaching money to a first-time head coach. It's so significant what he's been able to change since he's gotten here. We fired a head coach in the middle of the season for the first time in 100 years. I don't think that happens without Kevin Warren. I really don't. So, you know, yes. I mean, honestly, it feels like, and Nicholas has said it too. I honestly think that Ryan Poles and Kevin Warner are a perfect match. I think Ryan's great for the football side, and I think Kevin's good for the business side. And that includes getting George to open up his wallet when he needs to. So if you're hard on Kevin Warren, I'm begging you to reconsider. I mean, Ben Johnson's agent had no reason to go and say he didn't have to be so over the top and effusive praise. Like, he said that they asked the Bears all of the hard questions that we want to ask the Bears, right? Basically, like, why have you fucking sucked for 20 years? Why is there no continuity? All this good stuff. And the agent for Ben Johnson says they answered those questions smoothly, confidently, and as good as you can. I mean, he said that was the best head coaching process he's seen anybody operate in the NFL. Right. That's fucking crazy.
I know.
The Bears operated the best hiring process, and this guy's old. I mean, he's clearly been through some negotiations. So, like, I don't know. I think it's very, very, very significant in the history of the Chicago Bears. And if you don't think it is, then you're probably just a Packers fan.
Or just a hater. Listen, I know fans were kind of freaked out because of the length, and the amount of candidates that the Bears were interviewing. People that probably had no business being interviewed, or probably were long shots. But the fact of the matter is, it was during the playoffs, and the rules were in place that you couldn't interview people until certain weeks before or after the playoffs. And then there's also the Rooney Rule that every team had to comply, where you had to bring in two different minority candidates in the building, in this case, Hallis Hall, in order to meet that criteria to hire the candidate. So the Bears had already knocked one out of there, with the final one being, of course, the Eddie George, the former NFL head coach, who was coaching probably like Tennessee State, which I believe is a small HBCU school for some reasons. And, and this is also applicable with the coordinator position. So, this was the NFL's way of trying to, have teams do more minority interviews to, get the more minority candidates out there. So, yeah, I'm very, very excited about the way that the Bears are doing business. The fact that the Bears were finally, able to land a big fish in Ben Johnson, I think it's an exciting time. There's no question. I think Ben Johnson's energy, the way he spoke and was very, very open and articulate, I think is a total breath of fresh air to what we were all treated to. Matt Eberflus's press conference, and the fact that he never took accountability very, very seriously, which was a detriment to the whole organization and the amount of players, who were openly criticizing and complaining about. So hopefully that will not happen now that Ben Johnson is here. I think Johnson said that he wants his players to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So, the Bears players better get their, shit together this offseason. They really have to, hit the gym, take their workouts very, very seriously, because like we've seen in the past, when you have a new regime, changes are always going to be painful. And it always usually in this case, it's the players that is going to be, the ones who's going to be, released or traded away because they don't fit into the culture, or in most cases, scheme-wise. So let's kind of end the Bears topic here. Well, maybe there is one other thing that I might be able to talk about. What player do you think that the Bears, now that Ben Johnson is here, give me one player or two if you can. Rishab, let me start with you. Who's going to thrive? Who's out with Ben Johnson?
I would say DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore has been kind of forgotten about by Bears. Some Bears fans were kind of mad at him last year for his lack of production. But I think a lot of that was due to bad usage as well. I know he was frustrated last year with, how some of the games went, right? Because obviously the Bears lost a lot of games. His production was not the same as it was before. But I think DJ Moore is going to go back to being a 1,000 plus yard hopefully 1,200 plus yard receiver. With all the different things Ben Johnson could do with him, you saw him come up with really good utilization of a lot of good players on the Detroit Lions, and I feel like the Bears, from a receiver standpoint, have a more talented receiving core than the Lions had last year. Now, Keenan Allen is a free agent, so I'm not sure if Keenan Allen is coming back, but from a talent point of view, there's no reason why we can't be as good as the Lions last year, at least from the playmaker standpoint. Like, obviously, offensive line is nowhere near as good as the Lions, but I'm a big fan of DJ Moore. I think he's going to rebound with a really good season. I think Bears fans hating on him last year are going to look stupid this year because I think he's going to be doing a lot of good things with, this new scheme.
Phil, who do you think is going to thrive? Who's going to be gone this offseason?
So if I had to pick one player that's going to thrive under the new regime, I'll go opposite of Rishab. I'll go to the defense. I think that Kyler Gordon is going to compete for Defensive Player of the Year next year. That's my hot take on the defensive side of the ball. I also think that you could expect Tremaine Edmonds to improve underneath Dennis Allen. He has a reputation for developing linebackers. I mean, Tremaine Edmonds, for how long he's been in the league, is still extremely young. I think he's only like 27 or something like that. So there's still meat on that bone. I know a lot of Bears fans wanted to get rid of Tremaine Edmonds, but he's kind of necessary if we're going to run a 4-3 cover 2. There's not a lot of middle linebackers in the league that have his height and speed, which you kind of need at that position. So I'll go with those two.
Okay, so let's. Who's going to be thriving under Ben Johnson, and who else? Who do you think is going to be goner with Ben Johnson in charge now?
So, in my opinion, I feel like Roma Doomsday is going to be very good. He had a really good rookie season, and I am so excited to see him thrive. He has a really good personality outside of the field. I don't know if you've seen like him go to like schools and stuff. I really like that. He's really out in the community and about. But other than that, I really do think he's going to thrive this year.
Anybody who you think is like this guy's going to be gone this off season?
Yeah, my bad, I forgot that.
I'm not too sure on that.
DeAndre Swift probably.
They run a 4-3 or stick to 4-2-5. I think they're going to run a traditional 4-3 most of the time. That's a base package for Dennis Allen, I believe, Lord Femto. I think that's the MO. I think they're going to definitely need a big, change in the front four. Montez Sweat certainly is the only legit pass rusher that they have, and you're going to see a difference in the the way that the Bears are going to be coming after who they're going to sign in terms of free agency in the draft. But we're going to save that talk for our next show because obviously it's getting late, and we're going to have to spend devote most of our time on free agency and draft on our next show. So let's talk about the Super Bowl. We all saw it. I was actually in the Philly area the day Super Bowl happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was actually in South Jersey. So it's like Mount Laurel, Cherry Hill area. I was down there for work. I was actually going to fly out Saturday, but they kept me until yesterday. So I was fortunate to go to a bar full of Eagles fans, and it was quite an experience. I was taking a guest from Japan who was here for work, who've never seen a Super Bowl. Yeah,
That's
2 weeks ago.
Quite a culture shock.
I took him to B-Dubs, which was literally like half a mile from the hotel we were staying in. I took him to the NFC Championship, and he got the taste of it. So we watched the Super Bowl together. And let's be honest, it was a total blowout. And, I'm sure that wherever you guys were watching, it was kind of difficult to kind of keep the focus on the game itself. But Rishab, let me start with you. What were your overall takeaways from the Super Bowl 59? And, were you thinking, is there something that maybe the Bears could learn or maybe apply the way that the Eagles were demolishing the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing they can learn is that good offensive lines and defensive lines win championships, right? Like the Eagles had the best trenches in the entire NFL
Right.
by a long shot, and it showed in the playoffs. Like in that game, the Super Bowl, they completely dominated the Chiefs in the trenches. I mean, it wasn't even close. Like that's why they scored, what was it, 24 points in the first half, and then the Chiefs could just
24-0, at halftime.
Yeah, Chiefs had no time. I mean, Mahomes had no time in the pocket. His O-line was collapsing constantly. So I think that's the main takeaway the Bears can get from that. And hopefully that convinces Ryan Poles to draft a lot of offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and spend money on these big ticket OL and DL guys, because the Bears, don't really compare to the top teams in the NFL right now in O-line and D-line talent. So that's the main takeaway the Bears can take. And as for the Super Bowl, yeah, it was really boring. I mean, it was fun to see the Chiefs finally lose, obviously, because they've been dominating the NFL for a long time. It was fun to see Mahomes get angry and all the Chiefs players get angry, because it's obviously don't want to see the same team dominate for so long. So I would say overall it was a pretty boring Super Bowl, but congrats to the Eagles for winning. My college roommate actually is a big Eagles fan, so he got to celebrate and have a lot of fun in Philadelphia. So I know the parades were absolutely wild. The parade is actually on Friday, like the actual parade.
Right, Friday, yeah, because the weather was pretty bad Tuesday. My last day there, it started to snow, so thankfully they picked the right time to move the parade on Friday, where obviously it's not going to be weather will not be impacted. Lord Femto, feel bad for the Philly streets and Sands workers. It was going to be destroyed whether the Eagles won or lost. Yeah, they're actually, the cops there are actively looking for 20 people or more, 20 or more people who were actually knocking down the signal lights and stuff like that. So much for greasing that kind of stuff, and it really doesn't make much there, but the difference there. But I happened to see that on the local news pretty much the day immediately after the Super Bowl was over. Phil, give me your thoughts on the the game overall, and how far do you think that the Bears are from reaching that Super Bowl and then even winning for all we know?
You set me up, Steven. You know how I am. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna really myself. The Super Bowl was a tough watch, but I was really happy to see Pat Mahomes get his ass kicked. Dynasties are lame unless it's my dynasty, right? So, if people don't like that energy, I don't know what to say. But as far as how far away the Bears are, I'm calling it that they're going to win a Super Bowl within 3 years.
I think that's a smart timeline there.
Yes, during Ben Johnson and obviously Caleb's rookie contract. I feel like this year they might kind of I don't know if they're going to jump straight in. They might test the waters a little bit. They might not cash out, But I think second year of Ben Johnson, you can expect I'd be shocked if there's a lot of wiggle room in the cap. They'll probably make a big splashy move, if I had to guess. I think by Caleb's third or fourth year, we should be contending for a Super Bowl. That should be the goal. And I've never felt more confident in the Bears organization. So, as long as we can get the players, I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. So last watching the game, what were your takeaways from the way that the Eagles were pounding the Chiefs? Who were you rooting for the game? Before the game.
So honestly, I was rooting for the Eagles because I'm just tired of the Chiefs in general. So it was kind of funny seeing Mahomes get sacked a lot of times. But the game overall was boring. I guess it wasn't boring for Eagles fans, right? But I was mostly on Twitter, scrolling, looking at the memes, waiting for the halftime show. So eating food. But
what do you think about the halftime show?
I mean, it's very controversial, but I think SZA ate. So I think she did an amazing job. I think Kendrick Lamar did an amazing job as well. So
That's true.
that's all I'll say about it. But
Nicholas, future Bear, Trey Smith, LOL. Yeah, that's the big name that I think a lot of people are linking the Bears to. Obviously, the Chiefs can't, or at least they're not going to be using franchise tag on because he's going to cost so much money and so forth. Anybody else stood out to you in terms of players? Phil, any player that you were like, damn, I want that guy in the Bears uniform next year?
I mean, honestly, Josh Sweat, because why we can have the Sweat Bros. First of all, it's super marketable. Montez is all about it. I don't even have to. That's money in the bank. But I really liked the pass rush from Josh Sweat. Personally, like I would like to bring back Khalil Mack if we could, but I also think he'd be a little cheaper with his older age than Josh Sweat will be after that Super Bowl performance. He'd probably earn himself a payday. But I mean, I'm going to be happy with Trey Smith. I think we still got to go get him. I know a lot of fans are like kind of because the Chiefs got beat up, but like the Eagles beat the shit out of every offensive line in football. So if we're going to use them as the barometer, then there's nobody that's good in the NFL.
Right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Well, Smith, I think he did pretty well. I think, I know he got maybe called for one holding, but that pretty much is it. Everybody else on that offensive line, I think Smith and Creed Humphrey, I thought they held their own. I think it was basically a lot of the guys who were beaten badly. Joe Tooney, Jawan Taylor. That's probably the worst signing I can think of. Maybe in the Chiefs in a long, long time there. Milton Williams, the guy who I heard a little bit. Of course, I think the Philly Eagles were touting him as a possible breakout guy. He's a free agent, of course. He had 2 sacks, 4 tackles as well. He might be a pretty good 3 technique that the Bears were have been trying to replace since they had Tommy Harris for quite a while. But that might, both Sweat and Williams made some money there. So, you better hope that the Bears, if they're going to pick one, they better pay 20 million plus there, as is Trey Smith as well. $21 million is now the guard money that the top-notch guard makes nowadays. And if any fans are hoping that they can get him on the cheap or something, then you might be in for a rude awakening just how much that the money that the Bears or anybody else are going to be paying for these guys, whether you like it or not there. So now that the football season is over, guys, how do you cope with the the loss of football? Phil, what do you do now? How do you kind of deal? What do you do to try to kill time between now and whenever the new season begins?
I'm just gonna sit in silence and just be sad. No, I'm kidding. I'll be covering the Chicago Bulls for just another year, and other than that, this is
you are okay.
Yes, I recently took on that gig. I'll be starting the YouTube channel for just another year on that end too, very shortly. So yeah, watching the Bulls. Hopefully, that's probably gonna take some more years off my life. Chicago sports gonna give me an early grave. I love it, and WWE wrestling's awesome.
Good. Celeste, how do you cope with the the football season now that it's officially over for now?
For now, I guess just wait, like on the updates, news, wait for the NFL draft, kick up. I think this time I'm just gonna work and just stay busy, keep up with the White Sox, even though there's nothing to keep up with. But yeah.
Gotcha. Rishab, obviously you got your channel, of course, but how do you, what do you do this off season kind of, to keep yourself busy with the football season being officially over now?
Well, the thing about the NFL is the offseason is almost as entertaining as the regular season. And for us Bears fans, the offseason is more entertaining than the actual season. So, honestly, there's not even really a loss of football until June. May, June are kind of boring because there's no content whatsoever. But the next month, we're going to be talking about free agency. The month after that, we'll be talking about the NFL draft. July is training camp. So there's only a few months that we have no football content whatsoever. So there's still going to be a lot of stuff to talk about regarding the Bears. But besides the Bears, I'm a fan of other Chicago sports teams too. But I'll be honest, it's like impossible to watch any of them. Like I've really barely watched any Bulls games. Barely watched White Sox games last year. So yeah,
Right.
honestly, probably just like work. Hang out with family. Watch shows, TV shows, movies, and stuff like that. But yeah, hopefully football comes back soon because we know we all love football.
Right. For me, I take up a writing gig myself, and I just kind of expanded my repertoire. I write for fansided.com, their main NFL page right now. I've been writing it for quite a while now. A lot of the outside the non-Bears content, as you can see here. Before we go, guys, what was that? Sorry about that.
Congrats, Steven. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Phil and I, of course, write for, Bears, BearGogglesOn.com, which is also part of the Fansided network is there. So, I decided to write a lot of, non-Bears content to kind of, keep myself busy and, add more football knowledge there. Let me ask you guys a couple of questions, before we go. What do you think is the future of Aaron Rodgers? Phil?
Psychedelics.
So do you think he's done playing football?
I think it's hard to say. I think if you go somewhere like Tennessee's probably like the kind of place I could see him going. Maybe Las Vegas. But honestly, I think he's probably the most likely that he's just going to go do a bunch of drugs in South Africa or something.
Celeste, where do you see Aaron Rodgers going?
I think he's done. My opinion. I think he's done.
Rishab?
I think he'll play another year, honestly. Like, I think some team will be desperate enough to have him on their team. I mean, he still had okay stats last year. Like, I think he still had 4,000 yards or like somewhere close to it, maybe. I'm not sure exactly what his stat line was, but I don't know, like a team like the Giants, maybe. Like there's so many teams out there that need quarterbacks where one of them is definitely going to take a swing on Rodgers, I feel like. But the Jets are going to have to cut him and eat all the dead money because there's no way we can trade for him at this point.
Yeah, no, I don't think no contender is going to touch him with a 2-foot pole there. But the top one that I've written, of course, is the Travis Kelce. Of course, he didn't have nearly as good of a season as he's had in the past, but he was still a very good receiver for Pat Mahomes. His performance in the Super Bowl, looking very, very dejected. Kind of stood out for many people, in the eyes of many people. And he was actually on his New Heights podcast with his brother Jason and said that he was going to, take some time. And he sure sounded like he was done playing football. Rishab, do you think we've seen the last of Travis Kelce?
I think so. He wasn't that good last season, to be honest. And he has, girl to look forward to, Taylor Swift. Like they'll probably be busy doing things off the field, and obviously like he has a life outside of football too, like
right, and a very successful one too.
Yeah, the podcast, right? So like he has a lot of things to do after football, so I think he'll be done too.
Phil, what do you think? Travis Kelce done, or is he gonna I don't want to finish like this?
I think he's gonna be done only because of who he's dating. I'm not saying it's a bad thing either.
No, of course not. Of course not. I mean, whether or without Taylor Swift, or even before that, I think his legacy is well secured. So.
Oh yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. There's nothing left for him to prove.
Yeah, and he's also comfortable in front of a camera, just like his brother too. Now, of course, I think a lot of people are kind of tired with the overexposure and stuff like that. So let me ask you the last question here. Travis Kelce, as a woman, do you feel like he's too overexposed because of the Taylor Swift, or do you feel like any publicity is good?
I honestly think Taylor Swift helped him gain a lot of that fame. That's just my opinion.
No. I think you're not the only one. I think Saquon also said that her she elevated the game to wider female audiences. So you're not the only one who says that too. So
I mean, in Super Bowl 58, it was all about Taylor Swift. I mean,
and then it was all about
that's
her.
why that's why a lot of people were watching the Super Bowl was because of her. But yeah, exactly what Lord Femto said. Slay, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys joining me, all three of you tonight, and I also appreciate the 1,000 plus people who tune into our live stream tonight, mostly from Rishab's channel here. But thank you very much for joining me tonight, everybody, and people who were kind enough to leave a comments. I really appreciate it, and we hope to do this again next week. We're going to be focusing a lot on the Bears free agency and the draft now that the regular season is officially over. So let's thank you very much. I know this was your very first time. I hope you enjoyed the experience, and
Great.
I did.
you
Thank
did
you
very
so
well.
much. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I know it was last
No. We
minute.
look forward to
Thank
having you again.
Of course.
Oh,
Of
yes, of course. I'll be
Phil,
less
thanks
nervous.
for joining. Celeste, sorry about that. Go ahead, Celeste. Any final words?
Have a good night, guys. Bear down.
Thank you very much. Phil, any last words for you? I appreciate you joining me again on this Wednesday night.
Of course, it's always a good time. I love talking ball with you guys. And no, my only words are bear down and all hail Big Dong Ben Johnson.
Rishab, any final words?
No, man, it was great to do this again. It's been a long time. We should do these more regularly again. And yeah, I can't wait for the Bears off
Nicholas
season.
said March 10th is a big day. Yeah, that's the first day of free agency when
March 10th. That's too far away.
well, in about maybe 4 weeks from now. So
No, it's going to go by fast.
it will go by
Yeah.
fast. Definitely go very, very fast. Again, thank you very much for joining us tonight, everybody. Really appreciate the engagement and comments. Really appreciate it. I look forward to doing this again next time. Oh, by the way, Friday night, 8:30, 7:30, I believe is the time. I'll be doing the live stream with the one and only Lester Wiltfong, who is the editor-in-chief of WindyCityGridiron.com from the SB Nation. I'm sure a lot of people have always gone to that website for Bears information. So Lester will be joining me on Valentine's Day that night. So if you got time, folks, please join me and ask us any questions for both me and Lester Wiltfong from Windy City Gridiron. Thank you very much, guys, and we'll do this again, and we'll notify everybody on the X and for future show dates. Everybody, thank you very much. Celeste, Rishab, and Philip, have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to doing this again next time on the Double 18 Podcast Live.
Bye.
Have a great evening, guys. We'll see you next time.
See ya. Bye.